Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Knitterly Arts Podcast. This is number 7, the first of the new year. I am Jennifer Edwards. I'm knitting a life, documenting the days, and oh my goodness, I'm now weaving and spinning and doing all kinds of things because it's just so much fun. But this is January. It's actually the end of January, the 27th. And I had fully intended to podcast before now, but one thing and another, life, etc., has been very full, rich. I try to stay away from that word busy, but it's been very full and lovely. But I'm excited today to sit down with you. I probably have more to tell you about than a half hour's worth, so I hope you can hang in there with me. Get a cup of tea or coffee or what have you, just relax, maybe watch this in segments or something, because I have a ton to share with you. As you can see, I finished Einstein. Oh, I'm so excited. This is the Einstein coat by Sally Melville. And as you know from my previous podcast or two, I have been knitting on this for a while. I actually started it last winter. Whenever our temperatures begin to rise, my hands start to itch for cotton. And so the wool gets set aside and I dive into all sorts of summery projects. But when our temperatures go back down, I spy all of the wool projects that have been half completed and I'll pull them out and have a desire to finish them. We actually, right after the new year, had a beautiful snow, 8 inches. Now, you need to know, here in North Carolina, that is magic for us. We don't get that often. I don't know when the last time was here in Kernersville, North Carolina, that we had 8 inches. Oh my goodness. But with that, and with the promise of it, hoping that it would come and that it would snow us in for a couple of days, we actually look forward to that because we don't get it very often. I knew that I wanted to just be thoroughly ensconced in lime green wool, and I was the entire time. For the days that the kids were out of school, my husband, my daughter could see me knitting away, knit stitch after knit stitch, yard after yard of garter, making the Einstein coat, and I could not be more thrilled with this coat. Oh, I just love it. It is rather brilliant. Sally Melville says in her book, that you will feel like Einstein when you make this because you have very little seaming to do, and it just works up so beautifully and fits so well. My mom had made this years ago, more in keeping with when the Einstein coat craze was happening, and she made a raspberry colored one. But the thing she's been telling me all along that she loves about this coat is that the sleeve tapers down to be just a perfect fit around your wrist. And I love this too. So I can wear it around the house and be all snuggly and cozy, and I can do dishes and I can do laundry, and I don't have a big sleeve, hanging down, getting caught up in things, getting wet in the sink, etc., etc. So it's a wonderful construction. I don't know, I'm going to stand up. You actually start knitting this bottom part where the garter is going in an opposite direction from the top, and then you pick up stitches and knit the right front, the left front, the back. You knit the sleeves on also, and then you knit the collar. And of course, I was able to find the most fun buttons. Do you see those little fish? Oh, isn't that fun? I wanted something big and bold because I think this is a big and bold sweater coat. But the little buttonholes are fairly small. So I couldn't put a big, huge button like I kind of wanted to. but I found these at Joann Fabrics, and they have been perfect. And then, of course, I have my little Saf scarf that I learned how to hand dye, and it's been great. Of course, as the way our weather is, right at the end of that snowstorm, and we had several days there. I had finished my Einstein coat. I was so excited to be able to wear it, and the temperatures soared into the 60s. So I was only able to wear it one day, and I actually wore it that day in defiance of the 58-degree weather, I think it was, because I just wanted to wear it. So at any rate, today our temperatures aren't supposed to get out of the 40s, mid 40s, and it feels like a good day to wear wool. So I'm very excited about that. Let's see, as the new year rolled in, I often, not every year, but I often think about, what would I like this next year to be marked by, or what would I like to see not happen so much in the year, but how would I like to move through this year? And so I had a couple of words that had come to mind that I was really, really jazzed about. And the two words were slow and simplify. Those were and are my words for 2017. Now, it is only January the 27th, and slow and simplify, I don't think that has been the characterizing feel or even look to the month of January. I actually wanted to slow down even in my creative life and simplify my creativity. And I don't know, maybe when you set those words as kind of a goal, the universe conspires to have a little joke on you. I don't know. But I have been having so much fun making things, diving into new things, continuing to discover things, continuing to draw, to knit. Oh, wow. And my classes have started up with gusto. I have a lot of classes going on just about every evening of the week, and several times during the daytime, and then on the weekend. So, but this is the season. This is when women in our area really want to knit and crochet, or to learn how to knit and crochet. And I have several ongoing communities of women who have been with me for a while, and they want to just keep going, continue to be inspired by one another's presence, and anything I can bring to the group, help them with their projects, etc. So I really enjoy those groups, and I love teaching. Oh, in one of these groups, my Tuesday night group, they are precious, dear to me. I have actually been with these women, I think it's 8-9 years now, maybe even more. And there is one dear woman in that group who turned 80 this year, and she can crochet to beat the band. She's amazing, and she just learned to crochet like a year and a half ago. But anyway, Bobby is her name. And I was chatting with her about slowing down in life and how I wanted to kind of do that in 2017. And she just very sweetly sat there and said, yeah, I have, in many years endeavored to do that as well. And she paused, and I said, well, Bobby, how were you able to do that? And then she just said, no. I thought, that is a word from the wise, that sometimes it's not easy to slow down our lives. And so what I'm seeking is trying to live my very full and rich life, maybe a little bit more slowly in manner, or slowly in my head. I don't know what I'm after, but if you have any tips, share them. You can share them on the group thread on Ravelry if you want to. Share them in the notes below this YouTube video podcast, what have you. But anyway, slow and simplify. I'm going to keep trying. So I finished the Einstein coat and my Christmas socks. I thought I'd update you about the Christmas socks. Ah, they're right here. So I finished one. And I'm in process of the second one. This beautiful yarn by Sun Soaked Yarns. I had given you a link to that. And I believe in my last podcast, I showed you that I was knitting the heel with the red color that came with Sun Soaked Yarns, the heels and toes. And I had done this in the traditional way of knitting a sock. It's the way I had always knitted socks, where you have a slip one, knit one across this heel flap back here. And I think I had gotten to about right there with my sock, telling myself, yes, 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 this will be fine, it'll be okay. But you know, the red done that way is almost like a little rectangle. And I just wasn't crazy about that. And I had purchased Susan B. Anderson's Smooth Operator sock pattern. And for whatever reason, my eyes sort of glazed over at the number of pages, and I just didn't quite, I didn't have the time before Christmas to really take myself through that pattern. But somewhere on Instagram, someone I follow, and I saw her heel. I asked, what type of heel did you knit here? And she replied that it was the Fish Lips Kiss heel. Fish Lips Kiss. That's a little bit of a tongue twister. And it's brilliant. So I purchased the Fish Lips Kiss heel pattern for $1. And it was numerous pages as well. But I could tell that most of that pattern was actually walking you through how to make a perfect fit for your sock beginning to end. And all I wanted was just the, how to make the heel. And so that wasn't terribly intimidating. It seemed to make perfect sense to me, and it worked beautifully. So now I've got this little red heel that is just cute as a button. Of course, red at the toe, which I just did traditionally like I would usually do. So one sock down, not quite half of the second one to go. I'm sure I'll have these finished by next Christmas. It's just my creative, sometimes I think I have a little creative ADD, and I'm a little bit like squirrel, or, in that movie, what was that awesome movie that I love so much? Anyway, it'll come to me. There is a dog. What is the name of that movie? There's a dog who, when he hears a squirrel, he says, squirrel, and he's off in that direction. And I just feel like that sometimes with the creative things that I want to do. I'll see something and just dive, headlong into it, which I have been doing lately. So those are my Christmas socks. And I have started a new tunic. I don't think that I've worn, no, maybe I did in one of the podcasts. It's a free pattern of mine. If you go on my website as well as on Ravelry, it's called Patsy's Perfect Tunic. And this is my mom's design, and she gave me permission to type it up and offer it to you. It is a very simple tunic, knitted with bulky yarn, basket weave, stitch, pattern, very simple, all the way up and down 2 rectangles. And you put these 2 rectangles together, seam the shoulders, seam from the armhole under the arm down, and voila, you have this cool tunic. You can make it as long or short as you want to. You can make it as wide as you want to, etc., etc. So I wanted another one of these, but of course I don't think I've ever knitted the same thing twice or crocheted the same thing twice, unless it was a blanket. But anyway, So I wanted another one, and I had this Noro yarn that was just to die for from, I had actually purchased it last year, and it's another bulky, wonderful, delicious cotton, wool, silk, yummy, yummy yarn. Here, I'll show you. This is the last bit of this cake here, and here it is in hank form. It's just very nubbly and lots of yummy colors. Some of my favorites. It is Kogarashi. That's the name of that yarn. I don't know if it's still being made or not. Sometimes our local yarn shop where I teach out of, Knit One Smock Two, they'll put things on sale when the companies decide they're not going to make that yarn anymore. But anyway, this is it. So I decided, yes, I want another tunic, but I want to do something cool around the bottom and possibly even across the top. And my go-to for this is Kristen Nicholas. I absolutely adore her book, Color by Kristen. She, in this book, I think gives you every tool, technique, everything you need if you want to knit Fair Isle designs into your work. And I love how she writes the book because it truly is a resource book. It isn't just a book full of fabulous, amazing Fair Isle patterns, really and truly beautiful things, from sweaters, coats, shawls, gauntlets, hats, pillows, everything, just beautiful. But she also teaches it in such a way that you can incorporate into your own knitting. So if you're a designer, or if you just like to make things up on the fly, or however you like to work it in, her book is perfect for making your knitted item your own. And I highly recommend her book. I will definitely put a link to this book as well as any other things that I talk about today on the podcast. But Color by Kristen is a wonderful resource book. And I had seen, it's actually a children's sweater in her book, and loved the band here at the bottom. And I thought, that's what I'd like to do. So I then started doing that. I gathered some leftover bits, which I actually had some leftover lime green from the Einstein coat. I had some pink and a little bit of pale blue, and this is what I have come up with for the band at the bottom of my new tunic. So this will eventually, it looks to me like a kind of tulip. Her tulip has two French knots right here, 1, 2. And so those at the very end I will put in with this pale blue that you see here. And then I will work the basket weave pattern that you see here all the way up. And I am wanting to choose another one of Kristen's Fair Isle patterns to put just small across the top. And this will likely mean that I'll have to steek those armholes. I'm kind of excited about that, actually. I think I've only steeked one thing before, and it was a very small something that I had made. I can't remember, but it was very little. It was just a way to kind of familiarize myself with how to steek something. And she walks you through it beautifully in the book. And so I'm sure I will have her book out, and I will be sewing, along the ridges that she tells me to, etc., etc. But at any rate, I'm excited about this tunic and am working on it when I have a chance in my very full, slow, and simplified life. So that's my tunic. That's pretty much the knitting and crochet that I have going on these days, because weaving. Maybe that should be a new hashtag, because weaving. Wow. I never thought I would be into weaving the way that I am. I started this just before Christmas, folks. I just did a little bit. Tara Lever, an artist whom I follow, she's in the UK, paints beautiful abstract work. She started weaving. And Tara and I message back and forth every now and then, and I messaged her, okay, where'd you find a little loom? How did you figure out how to do this? Etc., etc. And she gave me the specifics on how she went about it. And I just, I was like itching to go and didn't want to wait for a loom. So I cut up pieces of cardboard, notches at the top and the bottom, warped it as best I could tell from looking at other Instagram weavers, and made my first little weaving. I think, did I show that to you on that last podcast? I can't remember. But I've been weaving and weaving and weaving ever since then. And I've also been making my own little looms. I did actually get a small loom from someone in the UK. Oh, that group is called My Sewing Box. I'll put a link to that in the show notes on knitterlyarts.wordpress.com. You can go there for all the show notes. But I've also been making my own looms. So this was a canvas. Cheap canvas, tore the canvas part off of it. This is the frame that's underneath. And then I banged some nails in the top of it. Most folks put their nails coming out this direction. I just didn't want to do that. I didn't like that. I wanted it at the top and the bottom. And it warps up just beautifully that way. And of course, my first weaving, I didn't have any instruction. I just went over, under, kind of made up some other little things, figured, well, why not? Surely there are numerous ways to weave. As many ways to weave as there are weavers, yes. Just like art, just like knitting and crocheting, just like any of the other creative endeavors. So I just went to it. Great fun. But I felt like something was lacking. I had a lot of questions after that first one. Well, how do I put in bulkier yarns? How do I keep it from going like this along the edges? Could I start my weaving a little bit cleaner? Things like that. And Tara steered me to a gal on Etsy. Her name is Lindsay Campbell, but her Etsy shop name as well as her Instagram name is Hello Hydrangea. You'll find that in the show notes as well. You must check her out if you're wanting to start weaving. Check her out and purchase the first, well, actually I've purchased both of them now because she just released her second weaving e-course. So the first one I think is just Welcome to Weaving. It's a beginning course. Fantastic. Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. And oh goodness, I've had so much fun with just the tools that I had from that one course on weaving. So I thought I'd show you a few of them. All of them, well, with the exception of the last two that I'm going to show you, all the rest of them I've put into my Knitterly Arts Etsy shop. So if you see one that you like, go visit there. I didn't start off small, but I have been doing some little small ones. A friend of mine said this looked like someone with a dress, and I agree. It definitely does. I have begun to title each of my weavings like I would a painting, because I just feel like they are. They're like little paintings with yarn. And you can see here, that's a piece of bark, and different textured yarns, fuzzy, surface embellishing, etc., etc. I was just trying new things each time. This one here, I thought, well, what if I crocheted a little strip of bullion stitches? The bullion stitch is great fun in your freeform crochet. And then, weave it in somehow as I go along. And so that one turned out really fun as well. Let me zoom back so you can see it. And I had on my drawing table this stick that I had found on a walk a long time ago, sharpened the ends, and I was using it to draw with ink, just dipping it in the ink and drawing. And then I didn't have a use for it anymore, so it looks pretty good with that weaving. Here is another one. This one, this one ended up making me think of Picasso a little bit. I don't know. I was trying the circle shapes, and I actually did this weaving. I did this after I watched the Hello Hydrangea. Yes, and so I was just trying that circular shape that she shows you how to do in her e-course. So a lot of fun. I again did some surface embellishment and had a little bit of metallic ribbon and thread, and wanted to incorporate that somehow. And I've done several other larger weavings. Of course, these looms are the 8x10 size, and I've got about 3 of those now. And then just before Christmas, one of my students and friend texts me and says, "I have a little gift for you, Jennifer." And I was like, "Oh, okay." So we met for tea with another friend at a collection, which is this cool place downtown here in Kernersville. And she gave me, wait for it, she gave me this. This cool gadget is a rigid heddle loom. Well, I think it's actually, when I look at rigid heddle looms online, this one has a little bit different form to it. I think it's been around for a while. My friend had been to a fiber guild, and some woman there was getting rid of it. She didn't want it anymore. And so you see here where you would warp the strings between here and here. Rather large. Wonderful. I've done a weaving on this, and it's getting ready to be warped again for another weaving. But there is this piece that would span the breadth here that I could, if I wanted to, weave, put the warp threads through it so that it would open up and allow for shuttles to go back and forth with the weaving. And that, I just thought, wow, at first I was kind of overwhelmed and didn't really know what to do with it. I set it in my studio here, and I just kind of looked at it for several days. And then I thought, I don't have to use the rigid heddle part. I could just warp it up like I do these other looms and go for it. And I did. And that was a lot of fun. So I was thinking I might take you just for a little walk here and see if I can turn the camera. No, I don't need to turn the camera, I don't think. Or maybe I do. But anyway, if I cut us off, I'll turn it right back on, and I'll show you some of these other weaves. Okay. Okay, so this was what I wanted to show you. I wanted to bring you here, and I actually don't know that I can get a whole lot closer, but these 3 weavings, actually this one on the right here has been worked on that very large loom that I just showed you. It's I think it's 12 inches wide and a little bit over 2 feet long. And these 2 have been done on the smaller looms that I created. And I'll zoom in and show you some of the fun things that I had fun trying. So in this one, as you can see, I wanted to add fabric. So you can see there the fabric that's added in, the little chambray, and I tore strips of that and then added this kind of beading thing here. I just sort of made it up, and of course I learned how to do that striping there from Lindsay Campbell, and her Welcome to Weaving video. Oh, I'm just having so much fun with these. And then this one, a little bit smaller one, I incorporated again some crochet, wove that in as I went, and using just diving into my stash and pulling out different yarns. Oh, this is fun, where you leave the warp strings showing, and some beads as well. And then this one, oh my goodness, did I have fun with that. It on that big loom, I just felt like I could sit there for days and work on, here's a little crocheted motif that I had worked up and then wove it in as I went. And again, leaving those warp strings and using lace. Started getting even more adventurous by working in lace with the fabric, and holding several strands of different types of yarns and fibers together, and it's been great fun. So I'm going to leave this, and I'll see you in just a second. Okay, so thank you for letting me share with you my latest craze. I actually have two others to show you, but this explains the explosion that's happened on my desk. I don't know how to organize myself now. I mean, I am ready to just be a weaver, before Christmas, I think my thought was, yeah, I'll do a few weavings, get it out of my system, blah, blah. Nope, it's here to stay. I really do enjoy it tremendously, and I can't wait always to warp the next loom or have multiple ones going at the same time. It's just great fun. So that explains the mess that I have back there. And here is one of my recent ones. This one, it's not in my Etsy shop yet. I don't know whether it'll go there, or I may deliver it to Southwind's Gallery here in town. I talked with the owner there and asked if she would at all be interested in having my weavings, and she was. So that was very exciting. So it might go there. Again, trying the different techniques that I learn and that I just make up on my own as well for these weavings. I think that is, well, always that's what's fun about making things, is that you don't have to be held to anybody else's standard. You can create it on your own. And here I really, really wanted to use as many non-yarn pieces as I could. So there's ribbon, organza ribbon, fabric, satin ribbon, grosgrain ribbon, etc., as well as some of the yarns. So it delights me. Very fun. And you should try it too, if you at all have an interest in weaving, or if you've got an extensive stash of yarn. It's just great fun to take a look at your stash from a weaver's standpoint, because all of a sudden my yarn stash has new life, and that's a lot of fun. So with a little bit of Christmas money, I also splurged on some wool to spin. And I found a gal, an Etsy shop called Old Sheep. And this woman's name is Olena Nebuchadnezzar. What a cool name is that? And she actually, I think it's an ongoing wool sale, because I caught the sale just after Christmas. And it is something like buy 3 bats for the price, buy 4 for the price of 3, or buy 3 get 1 free, something like that. Anyway, the link will be there for you in the show notes, and it's just wow, beautiful, beautiful colors. Of course, I chose my colors, but let me just I have to take some of this out of the package and show you, because I haven't started spinning with it yet. I know, that's silly. I've had it for a couple of weeks now. But look at this. Look at the beautiful, vibrant, bright color. And oh, it's just going to make the most gorgeous yarn for weaving. That's my plan now, is to spin with my spindles, spin yarn for these weavings, and then pair this with, you know, the other yarns that I have in my stash. I want to spin this very, very loosely. And I even want to leave some of it as roving, you know, just long strands of it unspun. Because that's what's fun. You may have seen that in one of the last weavings I showed you, where you've just got this chunk of roving that's been wrapped around the warp strings. And oh, it's just gorgeous, provides such texture and just fluffiness and deliciousness. So gosh, I just keep going on and on about it. But I also got from Santa a beautiful spindle. This is from Spin City, UK. A lovely, glittery, dried flower spindle. The dried flowers are in this resin here. And I have already spun some, well, let's see if I can find it back here. And if I can't, then we will just move on. Well, I can't find I do have a smidge left of it. I used it in one of my weavings already, but I did spin this from some wool that I had bought at SAF. And surprise, surprise, you know, the color. It's just one of my favorite colors. So there's a ball of it somewhere in this chaos up here. But it's a fun chaos. So, oh, wow. All right. Pardon me there. I had to clear off some things on my phone to make room for more video recording, which means that I'm being very long-winded, but I have a lot to share with you, and I have a little bit more. I wanted to share with you a few things from my sketchbook of late. During the snow days, I went on lots of walks with my youngest daughter, and this is a view of Mr. Wicker's back field. I don't know if I've shared with you other paintings and drawings of Mr. Wicker's field back there. He has a lot of land in and around our neighborhood, and I love drawing and painting the views of his land. And so this is one after the snow, or maybe even while it was coming down. I can't remember when we went out to walk. It was probably after all 8 inches fell. Very exciting. And snow is a wonderful thing to try to capture on paper. You can, for the most part, leave the white of the paper as the snow, but snow reflects all kinds of colors. I don't know if you've noticed that. The next time you're out in snow, take a look for the color that you can see in snow. It's pretty striking. We also, the group that I actually started this group years ago downtown. We get together and draw on Friday mornings. We had not been able to meet together towards the end of 2016, just lots going on with holiday and this and that. But we have resumed drawing, and our indoor spot for drawing is a little place downtown Kernersville called Eclection. Eclection is this fabulous spot run by and managed and owned by Chris Federico here in our downtown area that hosts artisan booths, so local area makers of all kinds of things. There's an amazing knitter there who has hats, mittens, etc. in her booth. There are vintage clothing upcyclers. There are furniture makers and upcycling, and those who paint furniture. There's just tons of stuff in this place that is very inspiring, and but there are also places to sit. The Breathe Lounge is upstairs. It is a great space for parties, for hanging out, for live music. The whole place. A collection is just a wonderful spot. So we like to gather there when it's too cold or too rainy to be out and about. In pretty weather, we like to be at the Senior Botanical Gardens or the factory or at the park. Lots of wonderful places to draw here in our little town. Who knew, huh? But I discovered all these places years ago when I took my sketchbook downtown, and it was just really neat to uncover the beauty of my town through the lens of my sketchbook. And this is from last week, actually. I think you'll be able to see that okay. The bicycle, it's a vintage bike, and they put this outside of the shop. But we get there right at 10 o'clock in the morning on Fridays to draw, and it was still inside. So they let us sit and draw it for a while. That was a lot of fun. The upstairs at a collection has been renovated, and this was kind of a little funky. The wall up there, this huge wall, has a mural that has, I don't think it's a painting, I think it's kind of like wallpaper. And of course it has a very sepia tone to it, and I've added my own sense of color, but you had to draw this, this tall, skinny fella and the short, stocky one, and they both have on boxing gloves. Great fun to draw there at a collection. Always a lot of fun. And I was there this morning. In fact, I had just gotten home, and I thought, I'll do a podcast today. So this morning I did the bicycle just from a different viewpoint, sat around near where the handlebars and the basket, and there are these little, they're not lollipops, but they are Valentine hearts on sticks. And there's like a bouquet of them right here. And then these cute little furry monkeys that are hanging off of the front of the bicycle and hanging off one of the handlebars. I like to pose myself, a kind of a composition difficulty, how can I zoom in such a way that maybe when you first look at the drawing, you're not exactly sure what it is, and you have to sit with it a little bit to figure that out. So that's what I was going for there. I think it's fun. Ended up being fun. Anyway, that's a little bit of my sketchbook work of late. Not all of it for sure. Follow me on Instagram if you want to see more of that. I want to recommend a new podcast to you. I have been following this gal on Instagram for a while now. Her Instagram name is P4Chen. So P4, numeral 4, C-H-E-N. I'm pretty sure the P is for Patricia. That's her first name. And she lives in Finland. Norway, Finland. And she has been doing very small, 10-minute, very, very short podcasts from her home there. And it is a magical place where she lives. And she's an incredible knitter. I would highly recommend you check out her vodcast, her video podcast. It's called Knitography. And I'll put a link to that in the show notes. But go visit her. She's brand new. I think she's only got a handful, 5 or 6 podcasts out, and they're short. And I find myself wanting to go visit Finland often. So she's a wonderful one to share her latest knitwear, and she knits exquisite things and talks about the yarns that she's using, and then shares and shows us where she lives. beautiful, almost like gingerbread house that she lives in. The very first podcast, she's walking down towards the fjord. Oh, I just love that. It reminded me of the movie Frozen, which I just love. And so she's walking down to the fjord, and you feel like you're walking with her. It's beautiful and serene and just lovely. So check out Knitography. Great little podcast. And then the last thing I want to do is recommend a book to you. I just finished reading this, of course, in my desire to live a slower, more simplified life. I got this book. It's brand new. It was out, I think, on January 6th. If you have not heard of her, I don't know how to pronounce her name, Erin Lechner, perhaps. She apparently had an HGTV show at one time, she and her husband, showing the renovating of their home. And she's done quite a bit of work on a blog in the fashion world, etc., as a stylist. And she just has a great way of writing about this whole issue of chasing slowness, trying to harness it somehow, trying to find it, trying to work against what our society, what our worlds, what our busy lives tend to want to make us think is that should be the norm, when it doesn't need to be and doesn't have to be. But she has an engaging way of talking about it, and of being very real and honest. She's just like the rest of us, finding it difficult to slow down. So you might like chasing slow. Oh, one last thing before we go. So glad I remembered this. Actually, I should have remembered when I was sharing Kristen Nicholas with you. Thank you, Kristen, for doing this. In a recent blog post, she gave a shout out to me for something new that I offered at the beginning of January. And this is actually what the Knitterly Arts newsletter used to be. It's no longer a Knitterly Arts newsletter, because I felt like what I was doing here on the video podcast was duplicating everything that I typically had in the Knitterly Arts newsletter. So that now the title has been changed to An Artful Lifeline. Basically, my desire is to pop into your email box once a week and give you a little bit of encouragement for your creative self, to help you along the journey of making things, of being creative, of being an artist, wherever it is you think of yourself along that spectrum, whether you think you're a beginner, intermediate, you've been doing this for many years, is just a little bit of encouragement every week, usually on Monday, sometimes Tuesday. I try not to hold myself to these things, because then I'm just not going to fulfill it. But once a week, definitely some encouragement for you. So go to jenniferedwards.com. I will put a link to this in the show notes on knitterlyarts.wordpress.com. But if you want to go straight to jenniferedwards.com, you might actually have a pop-up that will allow you to sign up for it. It's totally free. You only have to give your email address. And if you don't have a pop-up, if you just scroll down on the home page, you'll see a sign up for An Artful Lifeline. So thank you for spending, I don't know, this may be close to an hour, 45 minutes or more, with me today. Thank you so much to all the new subscribers on YouTube. Thank you, Andre Sue, again, thank you, Andy, for recommending my podcast. Thank you, Kristen Nicholas, for steering people my way for An Artful Lifeline. And thank you to all of you for checking in with me today, for listening to all the crazy things that I have going on. I hope in some way it inspires you to take up a pen and paint, or pick up your knitting needles, crochet hook, maybe even start weaving, and possibly spinning. So there's so many wonderful things to make, and it brings such joy to our lives and allows us to see our lives for the beauty that they are. And I hope you have a great week. I will see you, I don't know, probably not in a week, but sooner than the last time. Thanks so much. Bye-bye.